Hello everyone. So this is where we left off on the prior video, and now we're ready to move forward to the production budget. For production, we're not going to just produce our expected sales. And the reason is that our sales forecast will be off. We hope it won't be off by very much, but it is an estimate and it's done before the year starts, and so you can't be certain. And so what firms do is produce a little bit more. They produce enough to cover a desired ending. Some people call it safety stock or a little cushion, because having a few extra is not very serious, but not having enough means you go out of stock and your customers go to your competitors and they might have a good experience over there and you lose them. So being out of stock is very serious. So when you plan your production budget, you plan a little extra. And so that's why the production budget looks like what it does. So here's our sales forecast in units. Of course, we produced units, so we're going to be using those units. But go over here to the production budget and let's have a look. So we're going to start out with the unit sales, and of course we're going to link to the original data. And so you remember how to do that. And we're going to click there, and we're going to copy all the way over to the first 2 quarters of next year. And I'll explain that in a minute. So there are the forecasts linked to the original client data, so that if they change the data, your data here will also change. So don't type these in. That's hard coding. And so we're going to add now a desired ending cushion or safety stock or desired ending inventory. And that is up to management to decide. If management's very aggressive, they'll have a very thin or small desired ending. If it takes them a long time to make this, or they want to be very conservative to be very, very sure that they're not out of stock, they may have a beefier or bigger desired ending. But management decides what is the rule for how much I want to have on hand in terms of extra. And so we have to go find that policy. So let's go look. What is management's policy with respect to finished goods? We're producing finished goods. And we see here on line 13 that their policy is we want to have 10% of next month's sales on hand. We want to already have 10% before we start producing the next month. So let's go here. So that means that this rule here is next month's sales. Next quarter's sales times their rule. This should say next quarter sale. I'll fix that in the file. All right, so we need, in this case, 10% of next quarter's sales we need here. And now I'm going to need to go up here to my formula and hit my F4 because I want it to lock on that cell and always use that 10%. For unit sales, we wanted it to float one cell to the right, so we didn't want to lock it in. But here we do want to lock it in on this cell. All right, so back to production. So I've locked that in. If you're on a Mac, you have to type in the dollar in front of the letter and in front of the number in order to lock it in. And so we're going to go all the way over. Now, we can't get a desired ending for quarter 2 because we don't have quarter 3. We don't have next month. And that's one of the reasons you'll see a little bit later that we needed some extra sales into the future to be able to get next month, right? So we actually need sales plus that cushion. That is what management decides how much cushion they want. Now I can go to the lower right and click down with my left clicker on the mouse and drag that over, or you can just do the formula 5 times if that's what you prefer. Now, we don't actually need to produce all of that. Why not? Didn't you say that's what you needed? Yes, that's what I needed. But if I already have some on hand at the beginning of the month, I don't have to make all of it. If I started off out of stock, then I have to make the whole 340. But if I already had some, then I only have to make the 340 minus what I already had. So what did I have at the beginning of the month? Where will I find that? I'm doing plus, I'm going to point. I go to the beginning balance sheet. And here it says that in my finished goods inventory, at the beginning of the month, this is the balance sheet from last year. So December 31st of 2001 is the same thing as January 1st. or the first quarter for the first day of the first quarter for 2000X2. So I'm going to click on that and hit enter, and it will put that in there. So what I need to produce is the 340 less the 50 I already have. So that's production for quarter one. Now, what about quarter two? I already know how much I need. What's beginning for quarter two? The last day of quarter one is the same thing as the first day of quarter two. So beginning for quarter two will be the same as ending for quarter one. Let that soak in a minute. So those two will always be the same. Let's put a little visual in there for you. Can you see that? So the ending for quarter two will be the beginning for quarter three. The ending for quarter three will be the beginning of quarter four. The ending for quarter four is the beginning of next year's quarter one. The only year that this is not true for, of course, is the beginning, because we have the beginning balance sheet. So we know the actual units they're starting the year with. These other ones, that quarter two is a forecast based on our forecast of quarter one. The ending's going to be 40 because that's the rule. That's what we want it to be. So the beginning in the next quarter is that same thing, and it rolls forward that way. So in quarter two, we want to produce the 450, but we don't have to do the whole 450 because we have 40 on hand. And so we only need to produce the 410. And we can pull our formula over. We do an extra quarter, and that's because when we get to the materials budget, we need the forecast for quarter one in order to figure out how much to purchase of materials. But there is your production budget. All right, and this is where we will pick up in the next video.